Hello, Phil here from Wings of Pegasus and welcome to another analysis video. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. On the agenda tonight, we have Mrs. Smith, and this is going to be coming from last year, and she's going to be playing through just a blues in A minor really, just jamming along to a backing track, and this is from Norman's Rare Guitars. So let's get Mrs. Smith up on screen and see how she gets on. I'm just going to jump in here. I'm not sure how long this solo section is going to go on for, but there is an interview with Mrs. Smith before this and after this, so you can get a bit of a vibe as to the personality that we're dealing with here, because she's larger than life. But getting into the playing, because what I love about this video, and there's quite a lot of artists that are so talented, but nowadays, being talented isn't enough. And this is just the way that the artist has decided to showcase their talents. And go through the video if you want to, because it's not just dressing up. There's a whole act involved. There's a whole backstory as well, really in character. The only time that the character is broken is when he starts playing. I'm going to refer to her as a she, just as Mrs. Smith, because that is the act. And that is the artist. So just the way that she really gets into the solo, you can tell as soon as the techniques start coming together and the expression starts coming out, that's where the character is broken, and now it's just the player, the artist, and then the act kind of drops down. Another band that I like to reference along the same lines of having that angle are Steel Panther, because they are absolutely top musicians independently, but they've got the angle of almost sending themselves up in terms of the lyrics and their songs being tongue-in-cheek, but also really hamming up the 80s and the glam rock and the whole image. But the reason that people go and watch that band live are because they are great musicians, and as soon as she starts playing, you know it's serious because of the tone. I mean, a great tone here, and also using a wah-wah pedal that's out of shot in order to colour that tone as well. Something that I've mentioned in other videos about just getting a wah-wah pedal, setting it in the middle, push it fully open to get that really high gain sound, but then close it as well to get that more mellow sound. So it gives you the option of going really top end or really mellow. So you get a great option with a wah-wah pedal, just setting it in different positions. But anyway, back to the playing, because rewind it back to the beginning of this little solo section, because the aggression and also that dynamic range that she's got in her playing with just single lead notes, but striking all the strings at the same time. This is what you'll see with a lot of players, where you're just literally holding down one note that you're gonna maybe get into a bend, but you strike all of the strings that are muted. So you get that percussive sound, that percussive attack to that lead note, but you're just getting the lead note by itself because you're muting all the other strings, and she does that really well. And let's not underestimate the amount of melody that's going on in this, because it isn't just mindless shredding. There's some real structure to what she's playing, and I love it when she gets into those tapping sections. Anybody that watches this channel will know that I'm a bit partial to tapping myself, and also love guitarists that tap. But the way that she throws this together is actually a really good example for players that might want to learn to tap but don't necessarily know how to get into it. And I'd say, to begin with, just learn your pentatonic shape 1 and just experiment with tapping the next note up in the shape rather than moving to the next string down. And Mrs. Smith goes through a little tapping section where she does that, but then also taps in notes from the extended pentatonic shape, which is higher up the guitar. Again, learn that shape. If you want to play in shape 1 with the left hand and tap in notes from that extended shape, again, really great way to go if you want to get into tapping. And then you can start introducing first finger, third finger, little finger, hammer-ons, pull-offs, like Mrs. Smith is doing here, tapping in with the right hand. So you can start to get faster sequences together by effectively applying those 3-note per string scales with the left hand. But of course, as soon as you start speeding anything up, you've got to practice it slowly in order to make sure that each note doesn't trip over itself. There's a lot of technique in this, and it's not something that you can just pick up instantly. Anyone can tap badly straight away, but to start putting together 3-note per string scales and tapping in with the right hand, and if you want to, 2 fingers on the right hand, takes a hell of a lot of practice. And also look out for the palm muting on some of the lead notes here, because it's one of those things that all the top players do in order to get those notes just to sit back a little bit. Sometimes you do want those notes to really be up in somebody's face when you're playing, but you do want to bring it down. It's all about that dynamic expression. And again, if it's something that you're looking to bring into your own playing, just rest your palm where the string meets the bridge, and it will stop that string from ringing out, but you will not lose the note of the string. Sometimes if you move your palm too high up that string, you're going to just kill the sound, whereas you just want it to rest on the meeting of the string towards the bridge. And you can experiment with that position and see exactly where your favorite palm muted position is, but that will give you dynamics in your playing. I'm not sure how long this goes on for, but let's jump in again and have a look.
Mrs. Smith, everybody. Where can everybody find you online if they would?
I'm just going to jump in there because the link to this is going to be in the description below. So if you want to check out the whole interview as well, you can do. But we've got a few more things just to look at in terms of the way that she applies that whammy bar. Obviously on the Ibanez here, we've got that bridge, it's not going to be a fixed bridge. This is going to be the Floyd Rose bridge that I've mentioned before in other videos with Steve Vai. He was one of those guys that actually broke a string. But anyway, if you do break a string on a Floyd Rose, it's an absolute nightmare. And the way that she utilizes that Floyd Rose bridge, of course, these strings are locked in tune with the Floyd Rose. So it means that if you want to do a dive bomb, which is when the strings, you can make them go pretty much as low as you want because you just decrease the tension on the strings by pushing that whammy bar into the guitar. And I do mention about other players who have got all that control and all that expression in the left hand, as Mrs. Smith does. She's got great vibrato here, and she only goes to that whammy bar for stylization and to get a little bit of a different sound and a different feel to particular notes. So it's just to embellish her playing with that whammy bar, just depressing that whammy bar before coming up to the note that she's playing. Very similar effect that you'll get to pre-bends, which is where you bend the string before you pick it, and then you can pick it and then let that string down, and that's what you'll notice as a pre-bend. Once you start hearing it, you'll know what it sounds like, but it's a similar kind of effect, but with the whammy bar, we're coming from a lower pitch up to where you want to be, rather than going from that pre-bend where you go from a pitch that's higher down. And we've got a few more techniques in here as well. Some 3-note per string scales with great alternate picking, and it's something that you'll want to throw in order to keep this kind of performance interesting, especially just jamming over a backing track. You want to have those slower melodic sections, but then also you do want to throw in some speed like we had. Again, tapping, hammer-ons and pull-offs will give you a legato sound. It's going to sound smooth. It's not going to jump out at you. Whereas if you start putting in 3-note per string scales with alternate picking, it's now a more aggressive sound. So it is going to be up in your face. All these notes are going to be jumping out at you. Again, changing the dynamics, even just through the fast playing. Another technique that she threw in there, a little bit of sweep picking. Again, it was blink and you'll miss it because it happens so quickly. Pretty much the nature of that technique, but it was just over 3 or 4 strings. Again, really nice and concise, and it's one of those techniques like all those other techniques: alternate picking, economy picking, sweep picking, palm muting. They all take a hell of a lot of independent practice. You've got to work at these things. It's not something that you suddenly pick up a guitar and you can do all these techniques. It takes a hell of a lot of work, and it takes even more work to then apply these techniques musically and melodically, which is how Mrs. Smith is using these techniques throughout this whole performance. And I think it's just one of those things about the music industry nowadays, that it's more about the look, the visual, than it is about the talent. And certainly when you analyze it, somebody says to you, oh, check out this song by this band. Where do you go to find that out? I guarantee you, most of you go to YouTube. You go to a video. You don't go to, like they had in the old days, a radio station where you can't see anything, or pop on, your favorite record. You can't do that. You can actually, but nowadays the young generation all go to a video. Is what they see first is what they're judging, not what they're hearing. And sometimes when you do watch a video, like I did a video on younger players of like age 9 and age 11, I say look away from the screen, because sometimes you don't take in what's happening with the music because of what you're looking at. And it's the best way to really judge an artist is to not watch a video, just listen to the expression in the playing, listen to the art, because that is what it's all about. But anyway, a really interesting video here. Check out Mrs. Smith if you get a chance, for just great playing. And if you're into something that's a little bit different and just a little bit of comedy, a little bit of entertainment with your top level guitar playing, then Mrs. Smith is the artist for you. But thank you so much for suggesting this video for me to take a look at. Keep those suggestions coming in the comments below. Let me know what you guys think. And if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. And I'll see you guys at the next one. Rock!